Hello, my name is Bullets. This is my SGDQ 2019 submission of Yono and Celestial Elephants. We'll be talking a lot about kind of the ins and outs of the run and some stuff about it, and I think it's a fairly interesting game. It's actually a game developed by one developer. It's sort of an isometric puzzle solving game with a lot of very interesting tricks, as you'll see in the tutorial already. First thing you can do is there's a conversation if you walk up to her. What you can do instead is get yourself stuck in that tree and go around her. Then you can dash across the edge there, where there's actually a conversation there, but you can't see it. You can avoid the third conversation, just because of where it is. But you can avoid doing this puzzle if you dash against that ramp. And then you can save a little bit of time dashing across edges. If you dash off of an edge, as you'll see a little bit later, dashing off edges saves you some time because it gives you a pretty decent amount of speed. So this is the tutorial. We've already done 3 or 4 different skips in this short amount of time. But yeah, so we'll be getting to Wind Hill in a second here. Wind Hill is also a fairly interesting area in terms of what's it called? The path we choose to take through it. Usually you need to pour water in this monk. So we have something called monk skip, which is to throw this chicken here. There's actually an invisible wall that you have to slowly go around, and then right as you're about to fall off you can dash, and it allows you to skip doing the water, which actually is a fairly significant skip already at the beginning. You're supposed to kill the enemies here so you can get past the fire, but if you ride along the edge like that you can skip that as well. The game slows down a little bit in terms of we have to actually fight things and do things correctly for a second. But this is the snake room. One of the things you want to do here is, as you'll see, or as you have seen, if you have a snake behind you and in front of you when you dash, you actually hit both of them. So we try to position ourselves that way. We're going to take the key, go out the way we came, and then use the pot to get over, which is not what you're supposed to do at all. But now we have a key in a room that we're not supposed to have it in, and we're going to use this to our advantage. So the first thing we're going to do with this, we're going to put the key here. We could just leave now, but we actually want to get the key that's natively in this room, so even if you bring a key into the room that's not supposed to have one, you can still use the key, or get the key from the, what's it called? You can still get the key that's normally in the room and bring it with you. So a lot of the sequence breaking in this game revolves around, or some of it at least, revolves around the fact that you can grab these keys, bring them to a new room, use the key to make the room a lot easier, and then grab the key that's normally in there. So like the key that's right here. Do a little dash off the ramp if you get a little bit of speed there. And then after this, we'll be using the key to skip a large portion of this level. The nice thing about the keys is you can gain height if you wiggle against the corner of them like this. And then you can also grab it and bring it with you, because you can grab things below you from a pretty far distance. So we skipped the room's about, it's kind of a loop around, so we pretty much cut the back side of it. So we're going to try to keep bringing this key with us. The final puzzle of this area, so you can't bring keys beyond the area that they're in, so like there's worlds in this game, and you won't be able to bring it outside of that. So we try to use the keys efficiently until then. Usually there is a key on that rock right there, but if there's a key that's already like physically there, and you bring a key into the room, it only will have the key that you brought into the room, and it will assume that it doesn't need to spawn another key since you already have the key. So you have to actually just go back into the room and it's still there. So this is the final puzzle room. There's quite a bit of stuff you actually have to do normally, so we just bring the key with us and skip through that. We're almost at Nightingale City, which is the I guess the first main city hub of the game, and just the main city hub in general, where most of the story happens. At the end of the game you actually come back here, which is part of the early Queen's Dungeon skip. The Queen's Dungeon is the final world that you go to, and the skip allows you to go from here to the end of that world. So it's an interesting category in terms of the fact that you can end the game here. There's a lot of interesting skips that you also get to see with this category, so both have their own advantages in that sort of way. So this is the room that we would go in to do that skip. We actually make a save here because we do some fun save shenanigans near the end of the game, so remember that in like 10 minutes from now. Whoops. You want to line yourself up with that cart so you can go off this edge here. Usually you have to talk to the queen for the guards to move, but if you just line yourself up, you can dash over that guard and keep going. So again, we're supposed to have another conversation here, which takes time, so instead of it, we're going to use the chicken from before. We're going to use our last chicken skip, unfortunately. This will be the last one for the entire run. We're going to just toss the chicken here, which lets us get over this half slab. We can get into the Troll Moss Forest. That was before. We're going to use this key here, but there's actually an interesting dash you can do here. If you put this in the corner, get into the corner, and then dash, you can get a lot of height. Usually it takes a very, very long time to slowly climb up that key, so it expedites things a lot. So now we have like the dangerous part of the run. This is the part where health is fairly important. You'll see I'm doing these double dashes right as I'm entering rooms. Dashing usually is the same speed as walking, but right when you enter a room, there's this period of time where you can do these 2 dashes, which makes it quicker. Because the slow part of the dash is the end part where you see slow down. Also in that section you have to dash right as you get hit, or else you get knocked back and take damage and you'll just die eventually. So if you chain 2 dashes together, you can cut out the slow part of it at the end of it. That's first try. That's really good, actually. It's pretty rare to get first try for that. It works kind of suspiciously. So we need to usually fill this block or this bucket with water, but since you can't take water out of a bucket, it only checks once if there's like something inside of it, and then it doesn't check again. So if we wiggle Yono's head into it, it actually counts as having placed some sort of water into it, so you don't actually have to do it. So this is the part where your health actually matters a lot. You have to fight these 2 enemies, and it's very easy to get comboed by both of them. So obviously what we're going to do is we're just going to go right in between both of them. Since you can hit both of them at the same time, if you're between them, you want to have them on either side of you. The only downside of that is that if they start hitting you, they're both going to start hitting you, and it's pretty bad. But there's also a safer way of doing that, but when you have as much health as I did, there's no real reason not to. So we're going to try to get these guys to walk in front of the traps, which I did not have work out for me, unfortunately. I thought my depth perception is not the best. So we have one final skip. The skulls break if you try to grab them and throw them, but you can just push them into corners and get some height. And skip over a gate that needs 2 different keys, which is obviously a lot of time saved. We're going to use that same concept here. This is Thunder Gardens. Thunder Gardens has a large crypt area that you have to go to after helping some of the people here. It has quite a bit of stuff going on with it in terms of a boss fight at the end and a ton of puzzles to solve. So what we do instead is we just push the skull over to here. We get over these flowers and just leave. We have Acorn Woods as well, which is interesting in the way where it's kind of a link between 2 different worlds. That's not a pun at all, but there is a possible incentive for changing Yono's skin, so he has the Link hat and tunic and all that. So you want that. That is also an incentive. You can just boost yourself up there. I can't even. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. You just wedge yourself between the bushes and you just fly, and it's quicker than going back to the door. So usually you go to the robot city and then come back here to go through the Woolly Mountain. But if you use the key, you can not only skip the sorry, I'm blinking. You not only skip the Acorn Woods, you can also skip you can skip the robot place as well. Sorry, my brain just exploded. I was trying to think of how to do this puzzle. So the fun thing with that puzzle is you can use the token there to get some height, which will allow you to boost up over that fence and not have to do the pushing ice block puzzle. I did kill a snowman earlier. There is a possibility of being snowman pacifist, but the trick can sometimes be a little bit dubious. But we will be trying it for the second snowman that we come up to. So apologies for everyone that was expecting snowman pacifism. We're going to use this key to get over and then grab it with us. You have to be careful not to like launch yourself up. Enemies spawn if you get anywhere near that, so if you just do a small loop around it, you can avoid it. Then you have to do a dash between the snowman and the bush, and it saves decent bit of time compared to fight. Like, you don't have to kill the enemies, but even just like fighting them takes a decent bit of time. We have this giant enemy here that you'd have to hit like 10 times to kill, which isn't that hard, but instead you just push a pot to the half slab and just go just leave, which is less confusing than that, which is literally just walk towards the corner and getting over there. So we actually have a fairly decently tough skip here. You have to dash right as you go off this edge and flick your analog stick. So like right there, I dashed at the right time, but I didn't flick my analog stick at the right time. There you go. So you flick your analog stick right as you dash along the edge, and you can redirect yourself to get onto that bridge. So we're having a little bit of conversation here, but then we have the best, not cutscene, but the best, like, I guess GIF ever, which is this. But anyways, so at this point, we need to break out of jail because Yono has been wrongfully imprisoned for, I don't know, helping people. That's pretty much all Yono does. So skips get pretty silly now. So you can break his walking animation, make him like ice skate around like that if you hit him right as he spawns. We're actually going to push him to this corner intentionally because we want to use him to boost ourselves up here, and then we throw the key up here so we can get onto the out of bounds seam and then bring the key with us. As you've seen before, especially at the beginning of the game, when you give us a key and we are able to sequence break it, things get a little weird. He's also on the out of bounds seam as well. It's actually not that hard to do. Just walk him towards the corner. So we actually do the entire thing just so we can bring the key with us. So this room, you have this ice block here, and when it's off the pressure plate, it opens this gate, but closes the gate. So all we do is we use the key that we brought with us, we come back, and because the ice block resets itself onto the pressure plate, we can just grab the key and leave. So we do have to talk to this guard, say a few things, break his walking animation, so he ice skates around. Again, we're gonna go back and get the key for a few specific reasons. There's a few skips we'll be doing with the keys, so it's actually worthwhile spending the time to get the keys here. Even when this animation's broke, he's actually like doing the swinging of his sword, even if you can't see it. We have a very weird skip here. We're gonna be throwing this key over top of here. Then we'll be making our way up to here, and this dynamite will trigger the block to switch. It's the entire like puzzle mechanic with this is the block switch when you hit that one thing. We're gonna get ourselves into this corner. We'll press a couple buttons. Yono's gonna launch the direction he's not supposed to. We're gonna do this a second time because Yono decided to do something weird. So what's happening here is that you're getting yourself wedged in this corner in a very kind of odd way, and you're locking onto it and then interacting with it, which is what you're supposed to do with the puzzle. But it keeps launching you into the void, and eventually your momentum takes you to there, and the game just like drops you off there, and just like, alright, just leave the room. That's why we have to throw the key over, because actually we go into the void, and whenever you like fall into the void that's down there, you lose whatever items you're holding. So in order to do that, you have to throw your key over the gate. So we'll bring the key with us and continue from that. It's not too hard to retry that trick. Again, we'll be doing double dashes when we can. Since their bodies stay when they're unconscious, they don't disappear like other enemies, we can use the guy to actually boost ourselves up here instead of using a key, which is a little bit slower. So we're just gonna hit this guy out of the way and leave. You don't have to fight any of them. You just have them swing at you and leave. We do have to use our key here. There's a possible way to get a key over here, the normal way you're supposed to do things. But instead of doing that, in the interest of speed, it's slower. You actually can't bring a key with you beyond that door for some reason. It acts like it's a different world. So even if you did manage to somehow very quickly get a key, it wouldn't be worth doing because it would just immediately disappear. Unfortunately, the dynamite is a little bit off. Get some invisible dynamite again. Oh, there we go. That's stuck in his head. There we go. So I was thrown off by the gigantic dynamite that sometimes happens. There we go. So, since we took a break from doing skips, we're going to immediately do another skip. We need to position ourselves right about... Nope, not there. Right about here. And it boosts us up here. You're supposed to blow up these blocks, which lets you get this key. But instead, we're just going to launch ourselves up there and just walk out. Talk to this guy. He actually doesn't want to fight us for once, surprisingly. He's chilling here. So we have the largest... Well, not the largest. We have one of the toughest skips in the game. With this launch here. Which is going to work perfectly. Probably not, but we'll see. So I actually need to use a keyboard for just one section for this. You want to tap yourself to get right onto a specific part of this bucket. Right about there, there, there. And that's going to launch you into the out-of-bounds seam up here, and you can walk your way to the door, as so. Now we can push this block through the wall. I can't really explain why. You just can. And then, because it's got weird collision, when you walk into it, it gives you like the smallest little jump. So it allows you actually to get yourself to the exits. So this is the final skip with the boss. So right as we start the boss cutscene, we can... so that's the final boss of the game, and what happens with that is as you enter the final boss's cutscene, you load that save we made about 10 minutes ago, I was talking about, and it takes you to the room that you would go to after you fight the boss, and the game gets confused about the fact that, well, you started the boss's cutscene, so you must have fought the boss, because the only way to get through the boss cutscene to get to here would probably be to kill the boss. So the game just assumes you've killed the boss. So then you get to skip it. There'll be incentive to possibly fight, and there's a bunch of incentives we're considering, including the mini Yono glitch, which can happen here. You can actually do a glitch here just for fun. You can restart the cutscene, which causes Yono just to float away. There's some fun incentives. The game itself is just hilarious and fun and just a really good time. I would be really excited to show it off. The community's done a ton of hard work for this, so it'd be a lot of fun to show off and just show the madness that is Yono and the Celestial Elephants. But thank you very much for watching this submission. I look forward to potentially doing this, and thank you for considering it.